Let's go back now to Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, who is joined by who we are seeing right now, Premier Doug Ford and Ontario's Energy Minister for an announcement near Brantford. Let's listen in live.
And how are people supposed to believe that you weren't aware of the donations that were being given to your daughter by these developers?
Thank you for the question again. Let me paint it this way, Mike. You know, I'm sure you two have kids. Nothing is more personal and private than your family. And going to a stag is not unusual for anyone listening, you know, but more importantly, this is something very private and personal to our family. And by the way, you know, he's a police officer. There was endless amounts of police officers. Is there a conflict that we give billions of dollars to police agencies and services around the province? No. You know, this is nothing, in my opinion, that should involve my daughter that is just not involved in politics. So I appreciate you keep asking, but anyways, it's a private family situation, and that's all it is. And by the way, I have 2 more weddings coming up too, so we'll give you the list after that too. It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous, to be frank with you. But anyways, we're here to celebrate Oneida Energy Project, one of the largest in Canada, one of the largest in the world. And I just want to apologize to the chief for these questions. But go ahead.
Premier, if this was a private, personal event, as you refer to it, why were lobbyists being invited to it and asked to make donations?
Well, again, Mike, we have a family that's been in politics for over 30 years. We know tens of thousands of people. People have known for 30 years. I don't look down the checklist. We have an open door policy at our home. I think you've been there. Other people have been there. When we have an event, I don't ask for a list of names. When we have Ford Fest and 6,000 people show up to our house over a 5-hour period, I don't sit at the door with a metal detector and start checking names. Everyone's welcome to the Ford family home anytime we have an event. But again, thanks for the question.
Hi, Premier. Laura Stone, Globe and Mail.
Hi, Laura.
Can you disclose to Ontarians which developers you are personally friends with?
Wow, you know something? Okay, so I know hundreds of developers. I know hundreds of private sector folks. I know hundreds of healthcare workers and police officers. And I believe in growing the province. I believe in getting builders here. Just imagine if we didn't have builders that go out and build homes and build businesses and build infrastructure, we wouldn't be in the spot we are in Ontario.
Okay, thank you. On the healthcare front, you have a meeting with your fellow premiers on Monday. Yesterday, you said Ontario is very close to a deal, but you have to seek approval from the premiers. What is your message going to be on Monday? Is it going to be take the deal? And I'm hoping to hear from the Deputy Prime Minister as well on this. Is her message to the premiers, there is no other agreement coming, take the deal?
Well, you want to talk about true leadership, you talk about the Deputy Prime Minister that is there working with all the premiers, the provinces and the territories, and everyone. I can assure you, all the premiers love Chrystia Freeland. I just love her a little more than the rest of the premiers. But in saying that, we've sat down and we're working hard together. Not only the Deputy Prime Minister, the Prime Minister, along with Minister LeBlanc and Minister Legault, we've sat down and had great conversations yesterday. And our goal, all of us, is just to get a great deal that has certainty and we can sustain it after year 10 and beyond. But we'll get there, and we'll have a great healthcare system right across this great country, because everyone is working together and in cooperation and working collaboratively together.
Is it possible the Deputy Prime Minister could quickly?
Yes.
Yeah, look, I don't have that much to add to what the Premier has said. You've just heard from him, and I've heard directly from Ministers LeBlanc and Duclos that they had a very good meeting with Premier Ford. Ministers Duclos and LeBlanc are now going to be traveling around the country and meeting with provincial and territorial leaders. From the federal perspective, from my perspective, it was a very positive, really important meeting that we had on Tuesday. The federal government put a lot of money on the table. And what we're focused on right now is what I think Premier Ford is focused on. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I think you've just heard this from him, and what Canadians are focused on, which is rolling up our sleeves and getting great healthcare outcomes for Canadians. Canada is investing significantly. Provinces and territories are and will continue to be investing significantly in our healthcare system. But I think what Canadians really care about, the Prime Minister on Tuesday emphasized the $198 billion from the federal government. I'm the finance minister. The numbers matter to me. And I need to be thoughtful also about the other significant investments we need to make. We've been talking with Team Ontario today about the clean economy, about electrification. We need to be able to be there. What I think Canadians really care about, though, from the healthcare discussion is people just want better healthcare. People want to be able to call up a family doctor, have a family doctor, and see their family doctor when they need to. People want to be able to get surgery when they need it. And so I really believe that what we need to focus on, and what we are focusing on, is working collaboratively to get those good outcomes. And I'm really confident, what you've heard from the Premier is something that maybe doesn't make great headlines. I used to be a reporter, and peace breaks out in Canada, maybe not the greatest headline. But I think what you saw this week on Tuesday, what you're seeing today with this really important announcement, an announcement about our clean energy future, an announcement about jobs in Ontario, an announcement crucially about Indigenous prosperity, is Canada is a country, Ontario is a province where we know how to work together, and where we recognize that when we work together, when we set aside our partisan affiliations and differences, we can really do great things for the people. That's what we're focused on with healthcare. That's what we're focused on with electricity. That's what we're focused on with reconciliation. And I do hope, guys, if I could just say a very personal thing, this is such an important moment for Chief Hill. This is such an important moment for Six Nations of the Grand River. And I hope people will pay some attention to the really groundbreaking work that Indigenous leaders have been doing, and that they are announcing with such really earned pride today. Thank you.
This will be the last question.
Hi there, Candice Miracle, CBC Indigenous. This is a question for the Deputy Prime Minister. You mentioned Indigenous prosperity is essential for reconciliation. What about the other priorities in this community, like land back and clean drinking water, language revitalization?
Those are, of course, priorities as well. And, as Chief Hill mentioned, he raised a number of other issues in a brief conversation with me, but he's a very effective guy. He managed to get a lot of issues in there. And look, I do want to say, I think today is a real milestone, and I think we owe it to the people of the Six Nations of the Grand River to celebrate with them and congratulate them. But speaking for the federal government, it's also important to acknowledge that there is so much work still to do when it comes to reconciliation. I am very, very aware of that. This is a priority for our government. It is a priority for the Prime Minister. And I'm proud and glad to be part of a government that has taken some meaningful steps. I'm even more grateful to Indigenous people in Canada and to Indigenous leadership for being there to take the steps with us and to teach us about the steps that need to be taken. But your question is very important, and I do think it's important for all of us, even as we celebrate the progress, to recognize there is still.
We were just
so
listening
much
to
we need to
Deputy
do.
Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, who was speaking about this new deal with the federal and provincial government. They are giving $50 million to develop something with the Six Nations of the Grand River. It is the largest electric battery storage project in the country.